G'day guys, welcome to another edition of 3SSR Footy Hit. It's good to be back. You know, the show's been plummeting the last few weeks, so I
don't know about plummeting. I think it's been soaring.
I cut my trip short and to come back to make sure the show got back to what it once was, a powerhouse in the industry. And look, the person who's been ruining the show the last few weeks is Peter Saros. As always, he's here. Pete, thanks for ruining the show. I've come back to get it back to what it was, and yeah, but look, no, thank you.
We'll call it ruining.
In all honesty, thank you for taking over the last few weeks while I went away. You did a good job.
Being a bit soft, recovering from what was it?
I was jet lagged. I just got off
it was a bit soft.
Got off a 24-hour plane trip. So.
No, a bit soft.
Yeah, no, that's okay though. But anyway, we'll get right into it. I did keep an eye on the footy while I was away, mate. And round 17 was a good one. Started on Friday night at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide, they're coming a bit more now. We're in round 17, as I said, and we're heading towards finals. So teams need to start pushing those 3 or 4 teams outside the 8 that can make it. And Adelaide's one of those. They were gallant against the Hawks, but couldn't get the job done. That's
right. They were good really early on. They played fantastic football. I thought they were going to win it at stages of the game, but they did just come short. They're a good team. Only one game out of the final, so they can still make it.
Basically, a goal down at every change. A goal down at quarter time, half time. 2 goals down at 3/4 time, and 2 goals down then at full time. So they were in it all the way. And look, they could be the team that sneaks into the 8 in the end of the year.
They could be, but then who falls out?
Yeah, it's well, Collingwood. Collingwood could really, if they keep going the way they're going, they could fall out. We'll talk about them a little bit later on, but the Hawks moving along quite nicely in 3rd position on the ladder, I believe. Geelong and Melbourne, traditionally these aren't great games, as you saw a few years ago with the 200-30 margin. This was a bit similar. 102-38 was the final score. The Cats never headed. Kicked, 8 goals in the second quarter to Melbourne's 2, and they ran away with it from there. Some good performances. Joel Selwood, obviously, was in his in good form again.
15 disposals in the first quarter, I think.
31 for the game. Stevie J got 27, and Tommy Hawkins kicked 3. So,
but Jack Viney did a very good job with him after half-time.
And Viney, 20 possessions himself as well. So, look, the D's, they had a bit of momentum mid-year. They've lost a bit now. So, the Cats, but also Cats moving along pretty nicely.
Now, back in the top 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And could be a force to be reckoned with.
That's right.
They're finals specialists. They come to play in finals, so it'll be interesting to see that. My mob went to Tassie, mate, and took on North Melbourne, and we were putrid.
Pretty bad. 59-point loss.
Kicked 3 goals for the game.
Your form has been quite ordinary since you've been gone.
Yeah, I've seen.
And there's not much you can really say about this. They're going to most likely end up last. That's what it looks like.
In the end, look, I won't be too unhappy with, because we'll get a player like Durden or McCartan, who are tall forwards who can help us. And you know, it's all about going to the draft for us now. And look. Some sad news today in the retirement of Lenny Hayes as well, a club champion. He'll be sorely missed. It's going to be a sad day when he walks away from football at the Adelaide Oval in round 23. But look, he's been a legend of the game. 16 seasons, 291 games. He'll finish on 297. And 3
games short.
I know. Injury might have cost him in the end, but look, I'll miss Lenny most of all, I think.
Yeah, no, he was a really good player, and one of my St Kilda favourites.
Just quickly, Sam Wright, 30 possessions in this game. David Armitage got 29. I thought he was our best by a long way. And Boomer Harvey keeps going on very nicely. 27 disposals.
That's right, he seems to get it better with age.
Absolutely. Like a fine wine. Gold Coast were disappointing against the Bulldogs, mate.
They've been very disappointing. Considering I thought this was the game where they had to really step up, say that we're not a one-player club. You know, we're a team.
They had to show it,
and
they
didn't show it. They didn't show it at all, and it was really disappointing, because unless they can start winning, then they're not going to make finals. I mean, at the moment I think they're 9th, equal to 8th and 7th. But at the same time, if they can't win, then they're not going to make it. So.
Absolutely, and the young players at the Bulldogs were on fire in this one. Jackson McRae, 43 disposals, 2 goals, had a blinder. Tom Liberatore, 28 disposals and a goal, and Mitch Wallace and Hrovat, 28 apiece, with and Hrovat kicking a goal as well. So some good signs there for the Bulldogs, but not so good for the Gold Coast, who were so good last week against Collingwood.
They were.
And now, without Ablett, could fall out of the 8. Everyone's thinking, though, this side is still good enough without Ablett to make finals, but it is a very young side still without Gary Ablett in that side.
It is, and they need experience, but at the same time, they've got a lot of talent running through that midfield. Swallow, Prestia, I can't pronounce his name, sorry. O'Meara, right, and Bennell. These guys are...
Jack Martin as well is coming through.
Jack Martin is coming through. He's a bit young at the moment to really dominate at AFL level.
Charlie Dixon up forward, Tom Lynch up forward, Sam Day. They've got the players there.
They've got the players, but they're just
still very raw and very young.
Very inconsistent.
My opinion, I think they're going to make finals. I think they'll probably get a few surprises in before the end of the year. They'll win a few games they probably aren't expected to, and I think they'll sneak into the finals. And you never know, they could surprise in finals as well.
I think the top 8's going to stay the same
as it is right now.
As it is right now.
So you don't think Collingwood will fall out?
I think Collingwood will just make it.
I think Adelaide might make it in as well.
I like Adelaide, but
Adelaide are big game players. They're inconsistent, but I think they're big game players. They come out against teams like Collingwood, Sydney, North, and they can beat those teams when it really matters. So I think Adelaide will sneak in.
They might, but I personally, my tip is the 8 will stay the same.
Okay.
It might fluctuate over the next few weeks, but in the end, it'll be this. This is my tip for the year.
Fair enough. And the next game, your favourite mob up against West Coast, Brisbane Lions and West Coast. Oh, I'm interested. I didn't look back at last week's video. Did you tip Brisbane in this one?
I tipped the Lions only because I actually had a legitimate reason why I tipped the Lions, not just because I was being stupid.
Stupidity?
No, the West Coast actually had a lot of outs. If you looked at the West Coast in and outs, they only had a couple of good ins, and they had about 6-7 outs. Really big players. So I thought there's a really good chance for the Lions to get on top of them, and they didn't lose by that much.
No.
So it was a good match.
They were down by a goal. They were down by a goal at halftime.
Yeah, credit to West Coast.
Yeah, look, West Coast, though, I think this is a game they would have thought they would win by a bit more. And I think West Coast are faltering a little bit. They're not at that level right now where they're ready to play finals. No, a lot of people at the start of the year had them as a smoky to get into the finals.
They won 4 of the first 5, didn't they? They did. They were blitzing it.
They were top of the ladder, and everyone thought, this could be the new West Coast under Adam Simpson. They faltered a little bit. They were found out by the better sides in the competition, and haven't really shown all that much late in the year.
It's been disappointing because I tipped them to make finals after their start of the season, and they've really dropped off.
I think they'll need to go out free agency, trading. I think they need another key defender now that Glass is gone. Mitch Brown's had his fair share of injuries. I think they need a key defender and maybe another midfielder or two as well to add into that side. But look, they're thereabouts, but they're not in the 8 yet. So
they're contenders, but they're not. They're competitive, but they're not dominating.
Full credit to Brisbane as well, who are showing a bit now as well. So Harwood had 28, Zorko had 26, Adcock 24, Martin 24. Without Tommy Rockcliffe as well.
Martin's been a good pickup.
Martin has been a good pickup.
Melbourne. That's my opinion. He's been a great player for them, but it's. Brisbane have shown more fight, but West Coast have really dropped.
Absolutely. And now, as far as I'm concerned, the best team in the country in any sporting code is the Sydney Swans. They're the most exciting team. They're the best. They've won 12 in a row, and this team's going to win the flag.
I disagree.
I think they're going to win the flag.
I think they're a dead even with Hawthorn. Even though Hawthorn aren't second, I think that Hawthorn are the second best performed side for the year. I think Hawthorn at best and Sydney at best are going to be a ripper grand final.
If you look, though, at the first 3 or 4 rounds of the season, Sydney were 0-3, or 0-2, and 1-2. They lost to GWS first up. They have won 12 in a row. They're on top of the ladder.
Yeah.
No one expected them to get to the top of the ladder. Sydney, everyone thinks they're going to be top 4. I didn't expect them to get this far up the top of the ladder. They are defying all expectations. They've got the best list in the comp. No passengers whatsoever. Best forward line, best forwards, best mids. They are the real deal. They're going to win another premiership.
I can see it, but at the same time, I wouldn't write off any other club because As you know, the best team for the year doesn't necessarily come home with the premiership.
Buddy Franklin kicked 6 goals in a half a footy.
That's fantastic. But
Sam Reid 4, McVeigh 1.
It's great, but you're not listening to what I'm saying.
I'm
the
just
team that ends up
listing.
on top
I am listing,
doesn't necessarily win it all in the end.
Well, I'm listing players that can change a game.
They can change a game, but at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen.
Franklin, Kennedy, Jack, Parker, McGlynn, Malcheski, game changers. And you saw that the same names against Hawthorn 2 years ago.
That's right.
You saw them come out and blitz the competition, and I think they're going to do it again. Josh Kennedy is in fiery form. He could be a seriously good chance for the Brownlow now that Ablett's out. 41 disposals. This guy is going to win a Brownlow at some stage. Bryce Gibbs was good for Carlton. McVeigh, 29. Look, they're the best side in the comp, and again, look, on the other foot, I'm not sure where Carlton are at. We've been saying this all year. Carlton
I'm just glad Richmond have jumped above them.
Faltering a bit. We'll get to Richmond in just a second. Carlton, though, not in great form.
No, they're not. They've had a really disappointing season. A few injuries as well in their defence. But they've really had a disappointing year, and I don't know. It's going to be difficult to see what... There's going to be a lot of players that are going to step away from that club, either forcefully or willingly at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Now, I'll let you talk about this one.
Yes.
You must have been... I want to know your feelings during the game and after the game, after the Tigers pulled off the biggest upset of the year.
I couldn't believe it. I sat there, I was at the G watching it on the TV, waiting for Collingwood Essendon, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't understand it. I was watching the game on the TV thinking, okay, when are we going to fall away? And we just didn't fall away. It was the first four-quarter effort that I've seen from Richmond in all of 2013. I mean, 14, sorry, we're in 2014, aren't we? But yeah, it's the first full four-quarter effort that I've seen from them, and it showed that they could roll a team that was second on the ladder before round, what are we up to, 17?
Yeah.
Second on the ladder before round 17, and we've dropped them all the way down to 5th.
I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it. Troy Chaplin.
Richmond have been the worst. They were one of the worst, the least competitive sides of the year, in the mid-year, and Port Adelaide the best side in the comp.
Completely turned around.
It's just a polar
opposite. We've won 3 games in a row.
Jack Rewalt was a new man on the weekend. He's kicking straight, tackling, pressure, everything.
22 disposals to his name too.
Absolutely.
He had 3 goals and 22 disposals. Fantastic. And Sam Lloyd looks like a future star. 3 goals, 3. He's been kicking goals very consistently. And Andrew Miles. Andrew Miles has had 24 disposals or more in the last 5 rounds. He was delisted from GWS at the end of last year, and has absolutely killed it since coming to Richmond. Great player. And look, I think the calls mid-year by the media that Port are a serious chance at winning the premiership were premature. Those calls are now being met. You know, they're not a premiership chance right now. They have been found out. They've been beaten by sides like Richmond. They were beaten. Who they lose to North
last
Melbourne,
week?
I think it was.
No, last week.
Last week.
They lost last week. I know that.
But I know that North Melbourne. I know that they lost to North.
They lost to Essendon last week by 2 points.
But Essendon are a good team. You can't really write Essendon off. They're in the 8. They're not a poor team. But Richmond, for instance, are struggling. They've had a really ordinary season, and for Richmond to come out on top over them, it's alarm bells for Port Adelaide. Absolutely. And look, they've lost 4 of their last 5 games, Port Adelaide. So that's not a good thing. Can Richmond back it up though? Next week. I'm not sure who you've got. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't know. I'm not sure, but we've won 3 in a row, and that's more than I've expected after the last start of the season. We'll get through these last 2 very quickly and move on to next week's games. The most disappointing team of the round, I thought, were Collingwood. Essendon were very good. Kicked 4 goals in the first quarter, 8 in the another 4 in the second. Collingwood never showed anything, and look, Essendon could sneak back up into the 8 now. They are in the 8. They could stay in the 8 for the finals. I was at the match, and there were a lot of overconfident Collingwood supporters. And I don't think there were many left after about half-time. So. Absolutely. And now, look, moving on to the next game. Everyone thought Freo weren't playing to their full potential mid-year. They're second on the ladder. I think they've flown under the radar. They're second on the ladder. And people still don't rate them as a grand final chance. They are a very good grand final chance. They got a good run home. But at the same time, I still think Hawthorn are that slight above them, in my opinion. I agree. But if they can get their full team, I just couldn't believe that they've gone from probably middle of the table, 7th, 8th, up to 2nd already. Well, they They were hanging in 11th or 12th at one point of the year. So
just shows that good sides can't be kept down, you know. We'll move right on to round 18. Starts Friday night. It's a split round, this one.
That's right.
Round 18, Carlton and North Melbourne. Who's winning?
I think North Melbourne quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see Carlton really showing much. They haven't really shown much lately, and I can't really see them.
The next month of football is crucial for North Melbourne. They've got the easiest draw to come in the competition in the back end of the year. If they want to finish top 4, this is where they need to
top 4
show their authority.
I think top 4 is a little bit out of their reach at the moment. The top 5 teams.
They want a home elimination final though.
Their top 5 teams are really good. I think they could finish 6th, and which will give them that home elimination final. So
it will. It sure will. But yes, they want to finish 5th or 6th, if not sneak into the top 4. You never know. Strange things happen in football.
I know, but
the 4th team could, get dethroned.
4th team's Geelong.
Yes, I know. But North Melbourne are capable of beating Geelong if they have to play them again. Geelong are vulnerable in some areas, so it just depends. It'll be an interesting month to see how it all fluctuates. But I think you might be right. The four, if not the 8, is pretty settled. St Kilda are taking on Freo. This will be a drubbing by Freo, although last time St Kilda played Freo at Etihad Stadium, we beat them in the last round of last year when they had about 23 players out.
Yeah, I think they were resting their entire side, including their emergencies. So I don't think that's going to happen.
No, again. I think St Kilda, they're tired. They're not overly. They don't look overly enthusiastic at the moment.
They're pretty ordinary.
I think the end of the year can't come quick enough for us. Saints fans also wouldn't mind a break from the carnage. I think this one could be another paddling. I think the average losing margin for us in the last month's been 68 points or something like that.
So that's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign against a team who's who's moving along very nicely. Geelong are taking on GWS. This also could be a bit of a blowout. I can't see GWS getting anywhere near them.
Their start to the year was fantastic. They really started looking like they were not going to make it in the bottom 3. But unfortunately, their end-of-season form has been horrible. And they're a very young side, and they're looking good at patches, but they can't string together a full season. I can't see them beating the Cats.
Neither can I. Port Adelaide are taking on Melbourne. This will be another easy one, I'd say. Port Adelaide quite easily. At Adelaide Oval, they don't lose.
Although Port Adelaide's form has dropped, so it might not be a thrashing. But I still think they
won't be happy with the last 2 weeks and how they've performed. And I think they'll come out and
I think they'll come out on top.
They'll touch up Melbourne quite nicely.
I think it'll be about 30 points.
2 teams rising a bit now, both in good form, the Western Bulldogs and Essendon. I think Essendon are just that bit better. Even without Joe Watson, they've showed a fair bit. Without Goddard as well, I think they'll get the job done quite easily here at Etihad Sunday afternoon.
They would have taken a lot of confidence out of beating Port Adelaide and Collingwood the last 2 weeks.
They sure did.
So these are good teams at the moment. They were above them on the ladder, and now they've slipped above one of them. And again, Port Adelaide are just above them now. I think Essendon will win quite comfortably. I think they're going to come out there full confidence, really confident, and just go nuts. And I think they'll win.
Now, the good news for Richmond is they've got a week off, but the bad news is they have to travel to Perth next Friday night. Can they back it up even after a week off against a team that desperately needs to win to try and keep their finals hopes alive?
I have no idea.
I think they could.
At their best,
I think they might beat. I think they might beat West Coast and show a little bit here. I was looking at something the other day. If results go their way, and let's be honest, they won't. But Richmond win every game from here on, they can make finals.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
And I think we've got.
What are they only? They're 2 games out.
They're 2 games out. And we've actually got a fairly
which is bizarre. Which is bizarre because you haven't beaten anyone of note.
No, we haven't. But though we've had some pretty impressive performances. Most games that we've lost this year, apart from the Hawthorn one, especially that Hawthorn, that was a horrible match. Apart from that one, we were in most of those games, and actually, I think 30 points ahead at some point in time with most of the games we've lost, especially against Gold Coast, the Bulldogs, Geelong, Sydney were in front as well. These 4 teams, we were dominating at North Melbourne. We were dominating at points, and then couldn't finish the games off and ended up just losing. So again, even the games that we weren't really Melbourne, another one. Even the games we weren't really in there with, we only just lost most of them, and we were at a dominating stage at a point where it looked like we were going to win, and we didn't. So I think it'll
be a test of character, that's for sure. I think Richmond I think Richmond can win this one, though.
If Richmond can make finals this year, I don't even know what I don't know how I'm going to feel.
Let's not get too carried away. We'll move on to the next game so that you're not talking too much about that. The Q clash at the Gabba. Brisbane taking on Gold Coast. I think the Gold Coast will bounce back in this one, although the Lions have been good at the Gabba this year. They've been very good at the Gabba, though Gold Coast, again, they're eventually going to have to show that they can play without Ablett. It doesn't take one player to win a game. No, it takes one player to do that. One or two things to win a game in the end, but to win a game, you need a full team effort. And as soon as Gold Coast figure out that we were not just Gary Ablett going out there, they'll start winning games again. And I think if they figure it out next week, then they'll win. Absolutely. Game of the round, Hawthorn and Sydney. This will be a true test of. I think this is the grand final. I think this is the grand final as well. It's at the MCG as well. I think this is the grand final preview. It's Saturday week. MCG 7:40. This will be an absolute belter. Buddy Franklin against his old side for the second time. I think the Swannies are going to win. You know my thoughts on the Swans are the best side in the comp. Hawthorn. I'm not taking anything away from Hawthorn. I'm just thinking that Hawthorn have a few injuries, and I think that Sydney are just motoring along a lot better. If Hawthorn can get their best on the track, then it's going to be a very tight match, and it could go either way. But if they've got a few injuries, as you said. At the moment, I think Sydney have that slight advantage over them. Absolutely. And the final game of the split round, next Sunday afternoon, MCG 4:40. Collingwood are taking on Adelaide. This is a crucial game for Collingwood. If they lose this, they could find themselves out of the 8. Whereas on the other side of the shoe, Adelaide could find themselves in the 8 should they win. This is a tough game to tip. Who are you going with? Adelaide. I'm going to go with Adelaide. I'm going to go with Adelaide as well. They did beat Collingwood last time round. They did. Collingwood's form has been pretty bad as of late. And Adelaide's has been fantastic, so I think the Crows are going to win. I think the Crows are going to win as well, mate. So we've agreed on a couple there, but look, the game of the round. What we didn't agree with was Richmond West Coast, which is interesting as well. I tipped Richmond. Yeah, I tipped West Coast. Oh, you tipped West Coast. There you go. I thought you tipped. No, I've given up on tipping Richmond this year. Like, if they want to win. Keep going, but I'm not going to tip. I need to get ahead of you. So. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for tuning in. Keep watching, and until next week, I'm John Donohoe. He's Peter Seros. Cheers.